what to do. We are not a movement. We are just a fan club. That is what we are.
We are starting, we are refreshing. I don't know what is going on. Good morning, Biafrans. Good morning. I think
we are not a movement, we are just a fan club. That is what we are.
They have stopped them. I don't know what is going on.
To analyze what I'm trying to say here, I'm going to use the case of Nelson Mandela that spent 27 years in prison.
Okay.
What happened to the movement? The movement got stronger. A man who spent longer in prison than many of you listening have been alive. Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison.
It's coming out.
He was arrested twice in 1962, and they sentenced him to 5 years imprisonment for leaving the country without permit. And in June 12, 1964, after the Rivonia trial, they sentenced him to life imprisonment for conspiracy to overthrow the state. And he was released in February 11, 1990 from prison. 27 years. 27 good years on Robben Island prison. Poolsmo prison. I believe we have an African rape. I think I've seen him. So 27 good years of hard labor in limestone quarries. 27 years where he was allowed only 30-minute visit per year. 27 years where South Africa government refused to even speak his name publicly. His word, were banned. So if I'm asking you now, did the African National Congress stop fighting when Mandela was in prison? Did they say, oh, well, our leader is in prison, so we'll just wait until he comes out? They never said that. They did not. They built institutional structures. They didn't depend on Nelson Mandela's daily instruction from prison. They had leaders, regional leaders council, that could make decisions because they understood very well that their leader who was in detention can never give them a clear information that anything he says will be under duress. What are we talking here? One man in prison didn't stop the organization because organization was bigger than one man. They continued the armed struggle. If you go and read history, you see that between 1964 and 1990, while this man was locked away, Otonto, what do they call this man? Contracted hundreds of sabotage operations. What was his name? Humkonto? You see, a lot happened. They moved on. They didn't wait for Mandela to give orders. They maintained their military pressure on appetite government. What are we talking here? They had a strategy. They executed it. They built international pressure. They had offices in London, in New York, across Africa. Free Nelson Mandela became a global campaign. International sanctions were imposed on South Africa. So what are the Biafrans doing? The gullible ones are sitting on the fence, waiting to get instructions from their leaders in detention. So these people did all this. They did not wait for Nelson Mandela's permission. They understood that the cause is bigger than one leader. They refused conditional release, which is very critical. The South African government offered to release Nelson Mandela multiple times if he will renounce violence. That is the same thing applied to Onyendu. Denounce Biafra and go out. Onyendu Semban. The same thing happened to Nelson Mandela. They told him, recognize Transcale as independent and live there. He said no. They told him, make other political concessions. He said no. All these conditions have been given to Onyendu. Nelson Mandela refused every offer. Why? He said only free men can negotiate. A man in chains cannot negotiate. So when they bring out a written script and tell you, Onyendu say, stop, sit at home. Onyendu is in chains. He cannot negotiate in chains. Prisoners cannot enter into contract. Prisoners don't write memo. Prisoners don't say anything that will do what? Make them continue to be in the prison, because they themselves are also looking for a way to be free. So they are not supposed to say anything that will indict them. And that is the reason we say we are not taking orders from our leaders in the detention. Look at Sunday Igboho now. Sunday Igboho has jumped up. They've given him money to come out and say, oh, I appreciate NNAMDI KANU for stopping sit at home. The same Sunday Igboho, because the brother is in power now, has abandoned freedom fighting. He has abandoned what was that is their name, self? Oduduwa Republic. He has abandoned it. Now he's coming to prognose into the affairs of Biafra. You see? Why can't he tell Tinubu, release NNAMDI KANU? He did the same thing I did. I did the same thing he did. Why am I a free man? No. If he has collected money to come and say, oh, I support NNAMDI KANU for stopping sit at home. Sit at home is not stopping. Look at Kwara. They are killing Yoruba people in Kwara. That one is not your problem. It is Biafra freedom that is your problem. It is our civil defense now that is paying you. Sunday Igboho. You see? So even though Nelson Mandela refused these deals, ANC kept fighting. They didn't collapse because their leaders, wouldn't compromise. And that was why in 1990, he walked free. But he doesn't walk free because he was the key to everything that happened. No, he walked free because the movement made South Africa ungovernable. That is the reason why we have to sit at home and continue to make the kidnap and the detention of Onyendu very, very expensive for Soludo and his cohort. South Africa did not back down. The ANC party did not back down. They destroyed their economy with sanctions. International pressure was unbearable for South Africa. So they had no other option. So when Nelson Mandela came out, what happened? He became the president. Those of you that said Simon Ekpa will come out and continue the position of a prime minister, shame on you. You're not even wishing him well. You're not even wishing him promotion, yet you claim you love him more than any other person. You are armored bearer. You are this. Ask Ajere the meaning of armored bearer. He doesn't know. This man came out, they conducted the election in ANC, and he won. And appetite ended. You see? And he said, I was simply a symbol. The real heroes were the thousands of unknown soldiers of the struggle. That was the comment Nelson Mandela made. I was simply a symbol. That the real heroes were the thousands of unknown soldiers of the struggle. So Biafra should learn from Nelson Mandela. Being in the prison for 27 years. We can't even sustain our movement for 5 years without, him being active. What is wrong with Biafrans? We are waiting for instruction from prison. We are arguing about which detained leader is legitimate. What are we talking? Do you see the difference? We have to learn. Build structure that functions without current leaders. Every community must organize independently. All the admin, they are already working. Support them. As I said, go and pay your liberation tax. Go and support your admin. Gather people. Let them know that there is a de facto government in the homeland. Let them know that there is brigging. Support the lobbying team. Go and be a member. We need money. The cost is bigger than individual. We'd fight for Onyendu release because it's just, it is just for us to do so. But we have to build Biafra whether he is free or not. That's loyalty. That's what he wants us to do. Okay, if you now say, okay, that was Africa. What of Bobby Sand, who died in prison? And the movement still went on. He died in prison. The movement still went on. He did not come out alive. But whose death made his movement to be even more stronger? He was an Irish Republican hunger striker. You see, he died in the prison, fighting for Irish independence from this same British empire, these same British people. He was arrested in 1977. I'm bringing Obodo Oyibo so that will not say, oh, Nelson Mandela was from Africa. He was sentenced to 14 years for firearm possession. The British government had a policy, treat IRA prisoners as common criminals, not political prisoners. You see what is happening? So what are we doing? The British didn't keep their promises. And Bobby Sam began the second hunger strike again. He refused all the food they gave to him, demanding 5 things only. Right to wear their own clothes because they forced them to wear prison uniform. He said they will not wear. He demanded right to free association with other prisoners. You see, he died. I don't want to go into detail, but I just wanted us to know that we have Nelson Mandela in Africa, but in Irish we had Bobby Sand. That one even died inside the prison, but that did not stop the movement from moving forward. So what are Biafrans doing? Waiting for our leaders to give them instruction from the prison? Very shameful. But I'm happy that we have reasonable Biafrans that said, no, we know the condition of our leaders in the detention. We have to move forward because this is exactly what they want from us. We will never, never back down from this struggle. So when you hear Patrick Smith appeared on that Arise television discussing Biafra issue, he referred to Brigi's work. Because despite internal noise from the saboteurs, Brigi is the structure doing the actual work. Lobbying, testifying, building international relationships. That is what Brigi is doing. That is why we need mental toughness. Don't be distracted by every splinter group coming up here and there. Don't waste your energy on internal fight. We have already abandoned them. We don't care. Focus on, who is doing the work, who is achieving results, who has legitimate process. We also have a situation where movement fail. Yes. And that is directly on us. You may not like what I want to say. I don't care. I don't care. Because I think many Biafrans don't actually understand what a movement is. A movement is not a fan club for charismatic leader. A movement is not people waiting for instruction. Nor is it an organization with one commander giving orders or dependence on one person's brilliance. Like I come to this space now, I say nobody should talk or inform nothing. It doesn't depend on one person's brilliance. What do you know? We have to bring our intellect together and make it work. It is not sitting idle until someone tells you what to do. A movement is millions of people who understand their role, distribute leadership, clear principles that everyone can articulate, build institutional structures that function independently. That is the key word there. Independently. Not waiting to get instructions from our leaders that have been detained in the prison. So in a real movement, don't ask, what does our leader want me to do? You have to ask, what can I do in my position to advance the freedom? You see, we have to wake up. Something happened when movement depend too much on individual leaders. Example of it is our Biafra. This is our Biafra in 1966 to 1970. I know this one would hurt us, but it is the truth. We must learn from it. We saw what happened in January 1970 with our eternal leader Ojukwu, that he fled to Cote d'Ivoire. He evacuated, he left the country. What happened to Biafra resistance that time? It collapsed within days. It collapsed. Surrender came almost immediately because the movement was built around one man. When he left, people didn't even know what to do. There was no institutional structure that could function without him. There was no clear, succession plan. There was no distributed leadership. Everything depended on him. And when he was gone defeat, what happened? We know the story. You may say, oh, he had other people, but everybody still looked up to him Drop emotions. Let's face the facts. We should not allow this to repeat again. We cannot build everything around our Onyendu in prison. We cannot build everything around our first prime minister in Finland or anyone else, because individuals can be killed. We have to face the reality. Individual can be captured. Individual can be corrupted. Yes. Or they can just make one bad decision. What will happen to us? We'll fold our hands and sit down and say, because this one is not there, we cannot move forward. What happened to Libya after Gaddafi? We need to learn and read and study what happened to other freedom fighters so that we can stop all these emotions and build and move forward. He built everything around him. No institution, just his personal authority. And what happened in October 2011? He was killed by rebels. What happened to Libya? Total collapse. So we cannot allow this to repeat. Civil war, militia fighting each other, no functional government, chaos for 10 years plus, because there was no structure that existed independently of Gaddafi. So when he died, there was nothing to fill that vacuum. It also happened in Iraq after Saddam. The same pattern. We must not allow this to repeat in Biafra. Saddam Hussein ruled Iraq for how many years? 24 good years. No independent institution. And in 2003, he was overthrown. And what was the result? Sectarian civil war that happened. ISIS came up. Decades of instability, because the state was built around one man, not around system. So the pattern is there. When a movement or government depends too heavily on one leader, if that leader falls, everything falls. No succession plan. We will now go into power struggle. No institution, and the result will be chaos, right, left, center. So we have to sit up. We build something that cannot be stopped by arresting a few people. So if we stay on this path, everything built around a few imprisoned leaders, we are setting ourselves up for the same collapse that happened in 1970 to repeat itself. So you have to support this structure. You have to come out and support Briggy. I will yield my mic here. Our Honorable Dr. Bishop Comfort is in the house. You have the mic, ma. Thank you. Welcome. We are happy to have you. Bishop, are you there?
Ask her to unmute herself.
Yeah. You have made a lot of sense here. I congratulate all of you here, tutors, Toti, the co-host, and the rest of you. I cannot mention all the names here. This is very, very, very wonderful. I just want to greet Hamadike Abatubie and our present Prime Minister NKERE. All Briggy members that are present, please, you're recognized, please. And all members on the space. All your members on the space, I greet them and I pray for them consistently in the name of Jesus Christ. Our freedom is bigger than anyone, as the topic says. It is bigger than any person. We have to remove emotion, all emotions, to succeed in this particular battle. Zoo is quaking. This is not 1967 to 1970, when nothing was published, nobody knew. 5 million died. Children died of starvation. The riot in 1929, Aba riot, was on. UK stormed on us. Russia followed. What shall I say? Biafra fought without ammunition except Ebunibe. And still their faith remained strong. Their faith did not shaken, because they believed that anytime soon that they will have their freedom. Still, they were not deterred. The leadership went from Ojukwu to Wazirike to NNAMDI KANU to Simon Ekpa and the present His Excellency NKERE. Nigeria is a country of great concern, which every one of us know. USA has landed into Biafra soil now. We have to donate. We have to donate for our freedom, for our liberation. We need to defend our BDF and BLA. Fundraising is tomorrow, which many of us know. Please attend the fundraising, because freedom will not be given to us on a platter of gold. We have to fight for it. We need you tomorrow, every one of you. I mean, you are talking about the solicitor for the accountability. I know many of you have heard about the meeting they had. He told them that he's not experienced on this because their case is not on the platform in Washington, that is going to make their case heard. And he's going to meet the former Prime Minister, Simon Ekpa, in prison. So you can imagine how inexperienced the lawyer they hired. So we have to match up because they have nothing to show for it. They are approaching, I don't know if you people know this, they are approaching our platform, trying to get our people to join their group now because they've lost members. There's no vision, no achievements. So they're going from one platform another, calling people, even calling me that they need me, I should come back. So you can imagine how derailed they are. So I want to encourage each and every one of you that the world is hearing your voice. The world is not silent. America is not silent, but we have to persevere. And I thank all of you for your consistent eloquency in trying to liberate Biafra. Everybody hearing your voice. And thank you. Keep the ball rolling. Sooner or later, we shall join the moving train to Biafra. Thank you very much. Thank you. I leave my mic here.
Yeah, thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you very much.
Bishop. Yeah, thank you very much for that wonderful submission. You know, when people become so desperate in doing evil, the only thing you can do as a genuine person is just to stay away from these detractors. And if any of them have been able to, reach you or maybe contacting you to come back to their shenanigans, just ignore such calls because the only government, as we know, and the international community also recognize that the only government that is fighting for the restoration of Biafra is already the Biafra Republic government in exile, which is currently headed by Mazi Oge Chukwu NKERE. So just ignore these people. They have seen the kind of progress that the Biafra Republic government in exile have been able to achieve in Washington D.C. and then the Nigerian terrorist government are now coming out in full force, putting pressure on all these pros that are out there, impersonating that they are fighting for the freedom of Biafra, so they can, continue to, sow that seed of discord, that seed of divide and conquer, but they have failed at this point in time because the Biafran people have been able to, lock everywhere, so they can't penetrate anymore. And the one thing every one of us needs to understand: what we are doing here is not a thing of emotions. Everybody just needs to put their emotions aside and focus on the main goal, which is all eyes needs to be fixed on the ball. And most especially now that the international community have started, towing that line of freedom for every indigenous person in Nigeria, most especially we, the Biafran people, we need to be focused at this point in time. And the only obligation that we owe to our freedom is to fund it. That is the only obligation we owe to our freedom. Because if we fail to fund our freedom, that means we are not ready to be free. And I believe with all the evidence-based result that the Biafran Republic government in Nigeria has been able to achieve, through our Prime Minister Mazi Oge Chukwu NKERE and also our lobbyist Mazi Elias in Washington D.C. and then no other person than our international lawyer Aman Dabiri. They are all out there. So when these detractors maybe comes out to tell you one or two things, just tell them to show you what they are doing for Biafra. And I believe the only thing they will tell you that they are waiting for our Prime Minister, for our former Prime Minister, to be released from Finland. Assuming our former Prime Minister waited for our supreme leader to be freed from the DSS dungeon, of which we know now that he has been sentenced, their kangaroo sentencing to life imprisonment in Sokoto. I don't think we would have made all this tremendous result we made with our former Prime Minister. And let's just assume that all of us were waiting for NNAMDI KANU. Maybe by now the Fulani people would have killed every one of us in Biafra land. So, they will never release these people except we get the freedom, because the freedom of Biafra is their freedom. I want every one of us to understand this simple fact. We are not against anybody, but we understand the political backing. You understand, regarding their present situation where they are, and also the present situation of the Biafran people. So we need to break the hand that is holding the key to their cell rooms, so we can be able to use those keys to unlock it. Because without us breaking the hand that is holding the key to their cell rooms, there is no how they will come out from there. We are not saying we just want everybody to be realistic. We want everybody to see this thing very clear, to understand what we are doing. They will never release them. They will never release them. You understand? So the only thing is for us now to, keep mounting this pressure that the Biafran Republic government in exile is mounting in Washington, D.C. for the international community, and also the United States of American government, to start saying things regarding, because when they start, putting that out, making the world to understand that they are political prisoners that are fighting for their freedom, you will see there will be out from there, because whatever they are passing through today, whatever we, the Biafran people, are passing through today, is all about is political. You understand? So we need to go that route, and that is why our former Prime Minister, tried so hard to put up this government, the Biafran Republic government, in exile for a time like this. So if anything happens, there will be a government that is speaking in the international stage on the behalf of the Biafran people and also on their behalf. So everything is strategic, but it now depends how you are comprehending what we are doing as a people to get our freedom at the end of the day. So thank you very much, Minister Bishop Comfort. This is our lovely mommy, the woman that made us dance in Finland, and she's a very, very, very lovely soul, and we the Biafran people love her so much. At her age, she's still fighting for us that are her children. What of you out there? What are you doing? If our mommy here will be fighting so hard, having sleepless nights from one meeting to another, sometimes they wake her up in the middle of the night regarding the affairs of the Biafran people. She will wake up, she will take those calls, and she will also work towards whatever conversation that is being heard on those phone calls. Why some of you are just sleeping 8 hours a day? And I believe that our mommy here, she doesn't sleep more than 2 or 3 hours a day. But some of you want to take that doctor prescribed sleep hour. You want to sleep for 8 hours, you want to sleep for 7 hours, you want to sleep for 9 hours. Now is not the time to sleep. Now it's time for every one of us, to intensify our efforts. And I also want to appreciate, some of us that are taking it upon themselves by, doing additional work just to make sure that they increase their funding, and that should be a motivation to some of us out there as well. So now it's time for us to intensify and make sure we keep this diplomatic battle that we are having with the Nigerian terrorist government, that we keep it alive in Washington, D.C., and make sure that we destroy the Nigerian terrorist government at the end of the day. So humanity in that geopolitical contraption can have a life of their own again. So that is what the Biafran people are doing. That is what the Biafran Republic government in Israel is doing. Working in hand with the international community to protect humanity, and that is what we'll continue doing. Even if the Biafra comes tomorrow, we'll continue doing that which we're supposed to do. Joining hands with the international community to safeguard the integrity and then the safety of humanity at the end of the day. Tutors, I think we should pass the mic a little bit.
Yeah, I will. Give me a few minutes. Let me play this thing. Are you just give me a few minutes to pass the mic to info, then after that we call it a day. Okay, Storm wanted to speak, but let me play this thing first, please.
Biafra government in exile is a government that nobody born of a woman marching on this planet, using your foot to walk on the ground, will ever destroy. Never rise again. Biafra government in exile is a government that nobody born of a woman marching on this planet, using your foot to walk on the ground, will ever destroy. Never rise again. Biafra government in exile is a government that nobody born of a woman marching on this planet, using your foot to walk on the ground, will ever destroy. Never rise again. Biafra government in exile is a government that nobody